My name is Josh Nichols, and this is my co-host John Oderman, and today we're talking about Batman.
That's not how I expected you to maybe start with like the 60s theme song. I did not expect you to use the Batman voice.
Oh, I was trying to do one of the worst Batmans ever. Christian Bale.
No way. Come on.
Okay, so we're going to talk about Batman. And I know that's a little niche, but I think it's a larger conversation because you can replace Batman with any character that you adore that's been played by more than one person. Mm-hmm. And here's the distinction for me. So let's not talk about Batman movies, just the actors. But best Batman versus best Bruce Wayne. Those are two different things.
Okay.
So that's kind of what we're talking about. That's going to be the
twist you're going to go with, okay?
And so I'm going to give you an opportunity to ask me a question so that you don't feel as though you're put on the spot. Is there anything you want to ask me, or should I ask you?
No. I'm gonna ask you.
Okay.
Best Bruce Wayne.
Best Bruce Wayne. I thought that George Clooney, because he's George Clooney, just because by nature of him being him, that he is Bruce Wayne. I mean, George Clooney is Bruce Wayne in that regard. He's suave and those types of things. I thought that Christian Bale was a good Bruce Wayne when he wasn't too whiny. Like, he seemed like, that socialite, and he kind of put on that jerk status on purpose and those types of things. I think in the third movie, he was a little whiny. He's like, I'm no Batman. I don't want to do it. He got a little whiny.
See, I do think like the Dark Knight trilogy, the way they juxtaposed Bruce Wayne with Batman, I thought that it was pretty masterful. I thought that was the best depiction of how Bruce Wayne would be, because you have to have that suspension of disbelief where like Bruce Wayne creates this like playboy like persona where you don't look at him seriously enough to where you could connect the dots where he's Batman. Like he's falling into the fountain. He's drunk in public type of thing where he's almost like a caricature of himself to the point where like there's no way that you can connect those dots. I thought that was a really cool, like, kind of subtle element to the Dark Knight trilogy, but I might agree with you on the Bruce Wayne, George Clooney thing, maybe.
See, the problem is we're talking about such different things. It's like if you said, well, Adam West is the best Batman. Well, he is the best Batman in that type and style of Batman, because it's the only really one that's ever done it.
Yeah, I mean that's like a character in of itself. The Batman, the '60s Batman is like a character in of itself. It's not so much Batman as it is as Batman.
Yeah, and Christian Bale as Batman. The Dark Knight trilogy was so grounded and realistic. I remember the thing that made me fall in love with the whole series, and it was so subtle and so stupid, is when they ordered all of the cowls, the masks, and some of them were breaking because of it was a manufacturing error or whatever, so they had to reorder them, and they ordered them in bulk so that it was hidden. What a small detail to ground it into, this is what would happen if you're struggling to figure out how to become a superhero, And so that's what I liked about it. And that was my one criticism also, is how realistic it was. And it wasn't they didn't do it incorrectly, but when Christian Bale as Batman changed his voice to as deep as it was one of the first times it actually made sense, because most of the Batmans would just be like, "Hi, I'm Batman,
but I'm not Bruce Wayne."
But I'm not Bruce Wayne,
exactly
and it was the same voice. It's like the Clark Kent phenomenon where he puts on the glasses and nobody knows who he is, And so Christian Bale and the directors and everything, they made a good call to make him change his voice. But it was one of the first times that had ever happened, and so people made fun of it, like, I'm Christian Bale. But really, wouldn't you disguise your voice?
You would have to.
Yeah. And so it wasn't wrong, but I think it was just so out of the Batmans that we grew up with that it was a little jarring. And so hindsight, I'm like, oh yeah, that was fine.
It makes a ton of sense.
But it was a huge meme. I mean, it was wow, let's make fun of Christian Bale.
Well, you still see, like, there's still skits online that are, like, still coming out that are being recorded where, like, a guy makes fun of the Batman voice. You know?
Yeah.
But, now, a guy that I think gets a bad rap, that I think had the potential to be like a great Batman / Bruce Wayne.
I know what you're going to say.
But the movie he was in was terrible. Well, not terrible. I mean, it had its redeeming qualities, but I thought that Val Kilmer had the potential to be a great Batman Bruce Wayne, but he just didn't fulfill that potential.
Well, I can't remember the chronology.
Yeah,
the chronology
Keaton,
of things,
and
but
then you had Val Kilmer and then George Clooney of that run. Yeah.
I remember that.
Okay,
but I think that Val Kilmer, what he added to the Batman legacy was rubber nipples on his suit.
Well, that was Joel Schumacher, the director.
And then it might have been Kilmer as well, but I thought that Clooney added the butt shot. So there was a shot of like putting on the belt and then like a turn in the butt.
Yeah, that was Clooney.
So each of them added a little bit of spice to the Batman legacy.
Well, see, and the thing about Kilmer that I thought was really cool was he's a method actor. And when he was preparing for the role, he would work out like all night, go to work in an office setting, and then get like 3 hours of sleep, and then work out again. So, like, he was trying to live life like Bruce Wayne or Batman would.
Okay.
So, and maybe that's why, like, I have, like, this, like, kind of, like, picturesque view of Val Kilmer and the potential that he had in that role had he not been in a Joel Schumacher-directed Batman movie.
What else has Joel Schumacher done? I mean, that's a name I know.
He's done stuff and things.
that is the extent of your knowledge.
I like get lost in the and the thing is like I think Jim Carrey could have been an awesome Riddler, and I think to a certain extent he was, and Tommy Lee Jones was a decent Two-Face, but I just get lost in the terribleness of Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze and what the terrible things they did to Bane in Batman and Robin.
Bane was terrible. I liked Mr. Freeze. Don't hate me. I liked Mr. Freeze because Arnold was hysterical. Arnold was Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
He was the Adam West equivalent of that character. And I love villains with a heart of gold. Like he was trying to find a cure for his wife and stuff, and he got kind of a missing.
And isn't there like a scene in that movie where he's watching the Heat Miser, Cold Miser?
I believe so.
I'm Mr. White Christmas, I'm Mr. Snow, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean that is an interesting, but I think that's why that is like so hated is the Michael Keaton movies brought Batman back to what Batman like originally was, like he's the Dark Knight, the Caped Crusader type character.
Yeah.
And then the Joel Schumacher movies started to kind of leach back into that campy feel of the 60s Batman.
It was very
and I think
comic
that's why
booky.
people didn't like it.
And I say it was very comic booky from like, and I didn't see Dick Tracy,
Yeah.
but it reminded me of Dick Tracy. It was very like, it didn't have that film noir dark.
Yeah, yep.
It was very like da bang pow woo swing,
Yeah.
and it was very colorful. But now that's getting a little bit into the movies, and whether we like those or not, good or bad. But I'm going to tangent just for a second because we ride the tangent train, the SS tangent.
Yeah, the SS tangent. Let's
Now,
go the USS tangent.
Well, that's ships, isn't it?
You're right.
Well,
You're right.
maybe SS is. Do they call trains? Trains have an acronym?
Maybe.
The something train. Anyway, we're gonna ride the tangent
another
train.
tangent. We're on a second tangent of the tangent.
When I do the
sidebar of the tangent.
when I do the metadata for this, podcast, it's gonna be like Batman. We talk about everything Batman, and then in the tags, it's gonna be like trains.
We slowly
United
reach
States
the-
Railroad development.
All of a sudden, we're talking about Thomas, the tank engine.
How do we get here? But anyway, Val Kilmer, you mentioned, is very much a method actor. And, I understand researching for a role. But I don't know, getting behind the method acting and getting behind that, really investing. And again, I'm not a great actor, but I've done, some plays and, different things like that. And I almost think that's the skill. When you're acting, you're acting like, you're not becoming that character. And I almost feel like when you get into the method acting of things, you're not even acting. You're literally living the life.
You're not acting anymore. You are that person.
Well,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't mind if you gain a little weight for a role or something like that, but the person who can put on a prosthetic piece and act as though they're 500 pounds versus the person who literally gains 400 additional pounds, like
Russell Crowe in most movies.
You are that person now. Yeah, you are gonna wheeze when you go up a staircase. Come on.
And kind of back to this is another sidebar, but it's parallel. It's on a track right alongside what we're talking about. Method acting. Heath Ledger.
Oh yeah,
The Dark Knight. A lot of people attribute his method acting of the Joker as what killed him.
Yeah,
drove him nuts, drove him insane. And Jack Nicholson warned Heath Ledger. He said, "Hey, this character, it can really get in your head."
So now I heard there's a documentary coming out, or maybe it's out already, where a family member of his kind of disputes that theory of
really okay.
Yeah, and I don't know if it might just be 5 seconds.
Was either the Joker that killed him, or was one of the Olsen twins?
One of the Olsen twins,
because he died I think he was at one of the Olsen twins' apartments.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when he died.
I always pictured them, I don't know, like living under a sewer grate or in a treehouse. Okay. I didn't picture an apartment. Okay. I just pictured something more obscure for the Olsen twins.
Like a Garbage Pail Kid's home.
Do they have homes, Garbage Pail Kids?
I don't know. But back to what we were talking about.
Trains, Garbage Pail Kids, Batman.
Okay, so we've talked about favorite Bruce Waynes. I actually think the Adam West Bruce Wayne was pretty solid Bruce Wayne.
No.
No.
Yeah.
You think that he's just such a departure from the character and so different than the other ones that you can't even categorize him? Yeah,
it's like a complete separate thing. I'm trying to think of another example that
I saw, and I don't know the exact quote, but I saw it when Adam West died. Like a month or two ago. When he is like whenever he showed up anywhere, that's Batman.
Yeah.
And to be recognized in that way, where like you are so beloved in that role, and you had such an impact on people playing a character that I think some actors wouldn't like that, and they would actually hate it and maybe disdain the fact that and resent the fact that they played that role. But Adam West always kind of like embraced it.
Yeah. Well, and again, I'm not saying that he wasn't good. I never heard it put so eloquently. Adam West was Batman. Like he was that 60s. He was that version of Batman, and nobody has ever done it. And it's similar. Like, let's say we're talking about Aliens. Yeah. You know what I mean? The Alien movie with Sigourney Weaver was kind of horror, kind of suspense thriller. I wouldn't put it in the same category as Signs.
Absolutely.
I definitely wouldn't put it in the same category as Mars Attacks.
Yeah.
Mars Attacks is like, and so Mars Attacks is like,
it's like the 60s
Adam
Batman.
West, version. It was so stylized and so different. You can't compare those. So you can't say, "Wow, I rank Mars Attacks as one of the most unrealistic alien movies." No, it was supposed to be campy. That was the point.
You're gonna hate me when I tell you who my favorite. Like I think the best Batman.
I already despise you. So
okay. So that you don't hate me more, do you want to give me your number one first, or do you want me to?
I want to hear yours because
number one Batman, number one Joker, Batman the animated series, Kevin Conroy. I think that is he's the greatest Batman. I think that's the greatest version of Batman that's ever been put on film or whatever you want to call it. And then Mark Hamill as the Joker. I mean, to me, that is what Batman should be on every level, and you never really saw him put on the cape and the cowl in the traditional sense. But Kevin Conroy, I think, is the best Batman.
Here's the thing: I've never seen the animated Batmans, so now you hate me.
I don't hate you.
Well, you do. I mean, come on. Let's be real.
You're ignorant.
You're ignorant. I have a hard time comparing cartoons to the live action movies because again, they're a different genre. I mean, it's just kind of a different thing. But I will take your recommendation that that's the best Batman. I would say from a realism standpoint, I think the Batman movies hold together more, like the Dark Knight trilogy. I think the Dark Knight trilogy is so much more grounded, everything as a whole. And so I would put Christian Bale first. But Michael Keaton was my first Batman.
Yeah,
and so I think like before I didn't even know who Adam West was. I am Batman. I'm Batman. I didn't even know how Adam West was before I saw the first two, Tim Burton Batmans. And so he's kind of my Batman. Because that's what I grew up with. But he wasn't nearly as realistic as the Dark Knight trilogy, and he wasn't as grounded as that. So, John, I think we set ourselves up for failure a little bit. Because how can you pick between these when they're all so different and they have characteristics in their own right?
Well, see, and I think that is where you get into you have to consider the movies as a whole. Because, like, Christian Bale, would he be seen as such a great Batman if it wasn't for the great storyline of the Dark Knight trilogy? And I actually, when he was cast, I was like, "What are you guys thinking?" I thought Ben Affleck. I thought Ben Affleck was a great Batman.
You know what? We didn't even mention that in the whole conversation because at this point, I can't bring myself to watch it. Because
you haven't seen it yet. Okay.
No, okay. I just cannot. Everything that I've seen about it, from the costume to the rough plot, the whole thing disturbs me. The only thing that made me want to see it, and I might even be wrong, but isn't Jeremy Irons in it?
Yes, he's Alfred. Yeah,
that's the only thing that made me want to see it because I love Jeremy Irons. But
also the introduction of Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, which to me highlight of the movie was when Wonder Woman shows up.
And see, I've never been a big fan of Wonder Woman and don't know a lot about it, and I haven't seen the new movie, and so
phenomenal.
Maybe that's why I wasn't as excited about everything else. I was like, well, I guess Jeremy Irons in it for 5 minutes might save it, but I was not thrilled.
And who's the guy that played Lex Luthor? He was in The Social Network.
Oh,
I'm not a fan of his. But
Zuckerberg?
Yeah,
no, I'm just kidding. I don't know I know the guy's role. He was in Now You See Me. And those
whoever he is, he's forgettable. But he's a forgettable actor as well. But
wow.
Well, I'm sorry if you're listening, but get better.
get better. Period.
Yeah. I was worried about Batfleck, but I think he was a good older Batman. I think he did a great job, and I'm actually excited for when they release a Batman movie with Ben Affleck as Batman because I think he did a great job in Batman vs Superman, and I'm excited to. I'm not excited for Justice League, but I'm excited to see him as Batman in Justice League.
It's lackluster for me, and I hope that I'm pleasantly surprised. But that feeling of euphoria from that surprise will be at least 50 years from now when I finally decide to sit down and watch it, and I get the tolerance to see it.
Shot out of a cannon.
What?
Top 5. Give me a top 5 list of movie Batman.
Top 5 movie Batman. So I'm gonna go. I'm not doing actors because I'm not a big fan of Christian Bale. Okay, so I'm not doing actors. I'm doing the portrayal.
Okay, all right.
So I'm gonna go ahead and say Bale, Keaton, Clooney, Kilmer, West, and West being number 1. Period. And the other 4 don't even make the list of the other list because again, it's totally separate. But you can't compare him to the black suit Batman.
Now, are you leaving Affleck off that list because you haven't seen the movie?
Well, I think it would be wise not to judge something that I haven't seen. I mean, I know that you willy-nilly just throw out criticisms about people and things that you don't even know about. Yeah. However, I'm a bigger person. And so I'm not going to put him on the list. But also, from what I've seen, there's no way. I mean, here's the thing. At least Kilmer added rubber nipples to the suit. What did Affleck add? Huh? Credits?
A nuanced performance.
A nuanced performance. I don't know.
Where they stopped fighting because their moms had the same first name.
I think this is one of those areas where it's hard when we're talking about casting. And we've talked about X-Men before and how I thought that Frazier, that Kelsey Grammer was a terrible... how could you...
He was perfect, yeah.
Well, no.
Yeah.
He was one of my favorite parts of the movie. Like, I thought he did phenomenal, but I would never have put him in that role because I pictured this... I didn't picture the academic scholar. I didn't know. I thought he was just this hulkish beast and was ravaging, and I was like, Kelsey Grammer doesn't seem like that.
Yeah.
And so, also... I can't picture him in a superhero genre. It was kind of a weird placement. But for me, Ben Affleck is not a superhero. He's not a Batman. It's similar to how Robin Williams, I had a hard time seeing him in a serious movie. And he did well in some of them. But it was just like the first shot was like, why?
Yeah, well, why would you do this?
Yeah, why would you do that?
It's like Punch Drunk Love with Adam Sandler. Like, why would you do this?
Well,
but I mean, that's an awesome movie.
Adam Sandler's just got a cush job now because I think he's just making. I think he's on contract for like 400 Netflix movies, and probably at $1 billion each. So he doesn't have to make a good movie.
But they're like some of the most watched things on Netflix.
Well, yeah, but it doesn't mean they're good. It just means they're the most watched.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen them, so they might be good.
I watched The Do-Over, thought it was pretty good.
Really?
I thought it was a solid, funny movie.
Well, it could be.
Yeah.
It could be, but you were also coming off the coattails of Ben Affleck as Batman. So your standards may have been
my
lower.
top 5. I'm tempted to do a cop-out and say tie between Bale and Keaton. But I would probably say Bale, Keaton, Batfleck, Kilmer, Clooney.
Wow. Clooney is your worst Batman.
And the thing is George Clooney could have been an awesome Batman. But Joel Schumacher.
Yeah, well, but Schumacher for Kilmer as well, right?
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe I just have I have kind of I see Kilmer with rose-colored glasses because of the whole method actor living as Bruce Wayne Batman thing. And that may or may not be true, but I just love that story, and I have there's yeah.
You live in fiction. Yes. You just live in fiction. But here's the thing. Here's a really vain, superficial, weird way that I'm also judging these Batmans. Kilmer has kind of a weird lower half of his face and mouth. And that's the only part of Batman that you see as the actor. And so, I'm thinking... And I'm going to have to look this up, but visually, I'm thinking that Clooney had a more appealing lower half of his face. The only thing that was really exposed.
Yeah, I gotcha.
I mean, I don't know.
Okay, of the movie villains.
Oh boy.
How would you rank them?
Okay, this is weird, and I've only seen the Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah,
is that the
with
third
Bane?
one?
Yeah,
the Bane one. Yeah, I hated Bane. Hate, double hate Fecta. A hating hater who hates it.
Uh-huh.
It was just, I couldn't get behind his body type and then his voice. But after I thought about it, I really kind of liked it. It just was so weird and jarring at the very beginning of it. So I can't properly place him. I can't do it. I'm going to cop out because you copped out once. And I'm going to put the Heath Ledger Joker and the Danny DeVito Penguin together. Because I cannot choose between them. Those are my favorite, and then it goes.
Danny DeVito did such a great job as the Penguin.
Yeah, and then it goes Catwoman, Jack Nicholson Joker, Mr. Freeze, because again of reasons I mentioned before. I'm going to put Two-Face, and then Riddler, and then everybody else. Just on a heaping pile on the floor, pour gas on them, light a match.
I liked Ra's al Ghul in the Dark Knight trilogy. I liked. I thought that Cillian Murphy did a good job as the Scarecrow.
You know what? I kind of forgot about both of
Yeah.
those. I think one of the reasons is really, I mean, they're both kind of human.
Yeah.
You know, like they don't have any.
Yeah. You're right.
They're not comic booky, and until the very end of Batman Begins, the Scarecrow really doesn't present himself as a Scarecrow, and so I kind of don't even consider them villains because they're not these larger than life comical villains. Not comical.
I know what you're saying. Yeah,
comic book, yeah.
They're more realistic, more grounded. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, you got to put. I think the Ledger Joker you have to put number one with a bullet.
Yeah.
But the DeVito Penguin is
he's
fantastic.
so good.
And the well, you got the Christopher Walken Max Schreck in that one too. That's just like a like the evil businessman type character. But
I mean, put him in that human category.
Yeah. But I mean, like he's a great character too.
That's true.
So I mean, that's one thing that Batman has going for him is his rogues gallery is just jam packed with awesome characters, and Bane was a little bit closer to the. I mean, I just try to ignore the Batman and Robin Bane because it was just so terrible, and Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze were a good combo of villains, and then they threw Bane in there and just kind of made him a joke.
Yeah, they didn't. Bane was especially terrible.
Yes,
I mean, Poison Ivy. I could even be like, okay, the contrast of her red hair versus the green suit, or I could find some redeeming value of some sort. She's still in the heaping pile with the lighter fluid and everything. Yeah. But Bane was what were you thinking? What? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to show you something, and I want you to see if I'm totally off base. The mouth of Clooney versus the mouth of Kilmer. They're all in order here. I mean, don't you see a distinct difference?
Oh, Clooney definitely has a much squarer jaw.
Well, even Kilmer's lips.
Looking at all those jaws, Clooney does have the best looking jaw.
Yeah, and look at Kilmer's lips. Like they just kind of seem
they're kind of pursed. Like he's kind of doing duck face in that.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't really fit the Batman.
Clooney, I think I have to say Clooney is the best cowled Batman.
Yeah, he looks like the best
most
Batman.
The part. Yeah.
Even Bale had. I mean, the way that they covered his face.
I would wait. The only person that even comes close to Clooney is Affleck. In terms of like square jawedness.
Yeah, but then he's got that stupid little
butt chin,
and then he's Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck's not a bad
Matt Damon's
person.
Friend, Matt Damon.
He's not bad. He just I'm struggling to get behind it because even the Batman suit in that movie, like, isn't some robotic?
Dude, I struggled too, but then I saw the movie and I was like, you know what, Ben Affleck did a good job.
But see, this is like that acquired taste thing, like Again, if you just try it, and if you watch it 100 times, you'll like it. And if you, it's like a poop sandwich can be an acquired taste if you eat enough of it.
We talked about best villains. We've talked about best Batman. Best Batman love interest.
Oh, not Batman.
Batman love interest because he reveals himself to all of them. So
I'm gonna say Catwoman. Period.
Okay.
I mean. That's it.
Any of them.
End of list. End of list. Selena, Catwoman, best Batman villain, and a Catwoman from Batman Returns, not the Dark Knight Rises. Michelle Pfeiffer.
Okay, all right.
She is the best love interest.
I'm a huge fan of like the '60s Batman Catwomen. I think there were 3 of them, and they were all hot. Well, and I wasn't trying to be vain, superficial, and sexist, chauvinistic. Oh,
pig.
Wow, okay, all right.
I was looking at the woman as a whole.
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
I think that Pfeiffer, I mean, not only a great actress, but
the character did have there was a good backstory there.
Yeah, and she was, in some ways, she had baggage. She was kind of some damaged goods, but she still, you could see her wanting love and feeling flattered by Bruce Wayne's interests. and then feeling so disheartened. I love the scene where they're both dancing together and they figure out who each other are.
Yeah.
And they're like, do we have to fight each other now? Like, is this a thing? Like, because they had this inner conflict. I just think that was a great setup. So would you put, somebody else first? Or are you just looking at looks?
Oh, jeez.
This episode. It's gonna be trains and Batman and all the other things we talked about.
I do really,
and chauvinism.
I do really like the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman.
She's great.
You make
The
a
whip?
good case. Yeah, you make a really good case there.
I recall Tic-Tac-Toe that they cut off of the TV version because she did the lines with her claws. She'd go tick. And then she do the horizontal tack and then poke on the eye's toe. And they always took that off of TV. And I almost forgot it existed until I watched the DVD. I was like, wait a minute. They actually showed this. So it's kind of interesting. But yeah, now, John.
One last thing here before we go. Best Alfred.
The Alfred from the first three. Or he was in the fourth one too, wasn't he?
I think he died like shortly after the fourth one came out.
I'm gonna put him. Again, I'm going to split two categories. He is the best Batman, or he is the best Alfred of that series, and Michael Caine's the best Batman the other one, because they're two totally distinct. You can't really compare them, and there was only two of them.
Yeah.
So they serve their purpose in
I
each
did
of
like
their
the
respective.
Jeremy Irons Alfred.
Jeremy Irons.
Yeah, he played Alfred in Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, but see that's not a real movie. That's in the piling heap. Bane is holding onto it with a lover's grip, and he can feel the lighter fluid being doused on it. So I'll try it. I'll try it at some point. We'll do a podcast about it. But here's the thing. If I could choose the best Batman between you and I think that maybe you have the squarest jaw, but I'm better in all other regards.
Okay, well, you know what? Maybe we need to have like a battering toss. We need to go through all these different things. Packing utility belts.
John and I are going on a bat off. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back next time on Pop Culture Problems.